morning, guys. It's garden tour day. And what a rainy, gloomy morning it is. Hi, I'm Rachel, if you're new here. I am Auxhart Gardening. I am here in South Carolina. This is zone 7B, and I am growing mostly in the ground. This is my first in-ground garden though, and I'm trying a few different things. My main idea with this channel is to just try things and then show you guys how it turns out. So this is our week 3 garden tour already, and I'm very excited to show you guys what all's been growing. So first up, we have the line in the grass. This is a really experimental area for me. I have basically dug about 7 holes in the middle of the grass and planted approximately the same thing in each one of them. There is a squash and beans and nasturtiums and marigolds in each little area, and the idea here is to see how it does when you don't kill everything around it basically, and you allow the existing populations of insects to continue existing where they've been. So far this is doing okay. You can see some of these squash are much smaller and unhappy looking than some of the others, and as of right now I don't have a clear answer for why that is, but they are still growing, and so far it's an interesting experiment. Things are just now getting to the point where they might be like kind of choking out some of the natural grass in terms of shading out and also root expansion, especially down here on the end where things are actually getting big. So we'll see what happens. You'll hear me say that a lot on this channel, but that's what I do. I do things and then I see what happens. Look at that gorgeous garden. It's grown so much since the last time you guys saw it. I can't believe we're in the 3rd week already. So I have here on the edge a line of sunflowers and a line of tomatoes. I just tied up the tomatoes yesterday for the first time, and some of them are just barely tall enough to get tied up to the trellis, and some of them are well on their way. And we have tomato flowers, which is very exciting. The marigolds I've planted around them seem to be growing quite well. And I also forgot until these came up that I had planted some nasturtiums around there. So we should have some beautiful flowers at the base of our tomato plants. And as far as the sunflowers go, we actually had a bit of a mishap with some deer, I'm assuming, who thought that it would be a great idea to eat the tops off of a lot of my sunflowers. And you can see some of them are coming back actually. I didn't expect this, especially with just the just a couple of leaves left, but you can see here this is where it got bitten off and it is putting out new growth. So my planting of extra seeds may have been preemptive, and we may end up having to thin out some of these sunflowers because wow, they are resilient plants. You can see the ones that didn't get eaten much farther ahead, getting tall just like I like, because these guys, the deer must have known. I put those sunflowers in place to grow up and act as like a natural wall for the deer, and they must have somehow known. So in the back here we have all of the peppers, which are fluffing out and looking really great, and especially the marigolds I planted near them a while ago are expanding just like I wanted them to, extra blooms, and I've added a few more also because of the deer problem. We'll see if that helps at all, but we've got some really gorgeous peppers coming in. This is one of the Oda peppers. I've got my one paprika pepper here, which is getting much bigger, and overall these are flowering and looking pretty good, despite the fact that the deer have also chomped on these a little bit, but they don't seem too terribly fazed by that, to be honest. And hopefully the deer will be not wanting to come back for more. So my war plan with the deer is I got this wind chime right here, but I also scoured the internet for ideas and settled on a habanero spray on all the leaves, which I'll have to reapply because it rained last night. But basically the idea is that they'll get one bite and decide, ooh, that's not for me. And this place will fall out of the rotation of their normal like grazing habits, because apparently deer early in the season find spots they like and then they keep coming back to those. So if you can discourage them early on, then they won't really bother you. Well, that's what the internet said. We'll see if that's true. I cannot get over how gorgeous and green this is, and this isn't even like up to full lushness yet, not even close. So if we look down my crooked row of beans, you can see, maybe not so well now, but the deer got to these as well. They actually looked pretty darn desolate after it happened. There was no leaves on some of these plants, and they are making a recovery, which I am happy about, but also, again, I preemptively planted fresh bean seeds in between where they looked the most dead. So we might have to thin some of those out, but better to have too many than to have too few. And that just means that if the deer come back, it's not such a big deal to share with them again. Oh, look at the baby nasturtium. These things are so cute. They look like little lily pads just hopping up out of the ground. So my eggplants are looking so healthy. You can actually see they're starting to put on their first flowers. These are going to be gorgeous flowers. But also last week I was asking you guys what might be damaging my eggplant leaves, and it looks like it might be a combination of things. So the little tiny damage might be flea beetles, but I feel like this damage up here is not flea beetle damage, these bigger holes. And someone suggested that it might also be slugs or snails, which would make sense given that I have wood mulch here, but I haven't actually seen any slugs or snails on them. And well, I think that that's probably a likely explanation. I just haven't seen them, so it's hard to know for sure. Oh my gosh, guys, look at this. Whoa, that popped up literally overnight. I don't know what kind of mushroom that is. If y'all can ID it, that would be so cool. But this is a good sign. So for those of you who don't know, mushrooms actually partner underground with the roots of your plants, and they usually form a pretty symbiotic relationship. Oh look, there's some more. Pretty symbiotic relationship with the roots of your plants, and so your plants will deliver like sugars to the fungi, and then the fungi will help deliver other nutrients back to your plants. So mushrooms in the garden, definitely a good sign. Oh wow, look at that, there's another one. I can't tell if this one is old and fell over or if it just grows that way. I think I see, yeah, there's another one over here. It's been raining quite a lot here. We had the edge of a tropical storm come through. This looks a little older, actually. We had the edge of a tropical storm come through, so that's probably why these mushrooms are choosing now to pop up. I cannot wait for this arch to be full of beans. On this first arch are the noodle beans. They are looking healthy, and they haven't quite started really climbing yet, but you can see they're about to get to that point, and then once they do, I'm sure they will take off. Oh, I spoke too soon. Look at that. This one has decided it's time to go up. Oh, wow. And you can see so far the close planting of them hasn't seemed to inhibit any of them, but with stuff like this it's always hard to tell, because when you plant stuff too close together it can still look healthy. It just might be smaller than it otherwise would have been if it hadn't been planted too close together. So they look healthy, and I'm so far happy with it. On my second arch I have cucumbers. Most of these are coming up really nicely, and they are starting to get to the point where they are going to climb as well. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, check out the other side of this trellis. So I went a little crazy with the marigolds after the deer came through, and I was putting in these marigolds along the outside of this because I thought nothing was there. And it turns out I forgot that I planted a couple of runner beans here, just, you know, to add a little extra to the trellis. And so those are coming up. And on the other side of the trellis, you'll see I kind of planted them almost directly in line with where the marigolds are. So marigolds and beans are going to be sharing some space here, but I think that's fine. Also, in the flower department, we have zinnias coming up, and then we have a lot of zinnias coming up. These will probably get thinned out, but these are some of the seeds that we had to spread because the whole pack got wet the day that we were planting. So it was either put them in or lose them forever, basically. Oh look, more mushroom friends. Here's the second tomato patch, and these I will need to trellis eventually, especially you can see this one. And normally I would prune my tomatoes to a single stem, but seeing as these guys all lost their tops to deer, I have been very hesitant to prune back their suckers, because the suckers are the reason that plants like this are growing back. If you remember last week, it was just this stem and it's one little set of leaves. And now look at it. It's coming back quite nicely. And if I had cut off that sucker, then it might have taken it a lot longer to push out new growth. So these tomato plants are going to be a little funky this year. And you know, that'll be all right. These are extras anyway. You can see here's another one. There was the top, and now it's got several suckers, and it's probably going to be a bush now. I'm still planning on putting in some T-posts and doing a bit of a Florida weave to hold them upright, but these are definitely going to be less meticulously pruned than the ones that are up there on the trellis, just because I don't want to risk losing a whole plant by cutting off all the suckers and then losing the top. Back row sunflowers also looking very sad. A lot of these definitely won't come back, so I did put in more seeds here, and those will be coming up in a couple of days, any day now really. So this will start to regrow itself, and maybe the deer will not eat it down again. But even if they do, as long as I have tried, I have a better chance of them growing back than if I wasn't to try at all. In the back corner where the sweet potato died and I planted corn, the corn has sprouted. I put 2 seeds in each little hole, and a lot of those have come up. I wasn't sure what to expect with germination, but it seems to be very good. So it looks like I will have a small patch of corn here, and that's exciting because I have never grown corn before. But this stuff looks like it's going to turn out to be really pretty. And these squash look perhaps the healthiest of everything in the garden. You can see they're so huge compared to the ones in the other section. It's probably a combination of having the right amount of room and the right kind of soil. But all of these just gorgeous green, big leaves. These will probably start putting on flowers very soon, and we will have some squash babies very soon. So that is the main garden, and we are now going to take a quick look at the container garden. And over here we have the quarantined basil plants, because I wasn't quite sure what this brown stuff was. So far, I still don't know. All I know is that when it rained, it washed off the leaves of the plant. You can see there's still just like a little bit on the stems. But I had thought it was a fungus. It might still be eggs of something, but I would think by now they should have hatched. Insect eggs don't usually take so long to hatch. But all that to say that the basil still looks healthy, and I think it's probably still safe to eat, no matter what it is that is on it. Looking down the big row of plants, I have more basil in here. There is a beetle just kind of relaxing this morning. I wonder if it's him that's chewing these holes in these leaves. But you can see this is starting to flower. It is time to harvest more basil and make more pesto. Oh no! What a horrible thing! Yeah, last year made enough pesto that actually lasted me the whole rest of the year. I basically made big batches of pesto whenever I had the basil for it, and then I put them in an ice cube tray, like one of those like bigger cube ice cube trays, and froze it, and then put those cubes in bags in the freezer. And I didn't skimp on using them, for sure. I was putting them on pasta, I was using them for pizza, and yeah, I used my last cube right as my basil was just about ready to be harvested this year. So I would definitely recommend that method, and I now have a better handle on just how much pesto I can eat in a year. This is my parsley, and I know it looks kind of dead, but it is finishing up going to seed. So these are some finished dried seeds that I could harvest, and here's some newer seeds that it has made. And similarly, my dill has gone to seed, and this head actually is just about done. You can see the seeds on the ends starting to dry up, so I'll probably be harvesting some of that. This dill actually grew back from seeds that I harvested this way last year, so this is all home propagated. And if I scooch around this giant flower, I can show you the stevia. This is the one that grew back from the root ball. It's looking great. Oh, look at this bee. Oh, cute little bee friend. So peppers here are a little bigger than the ones in the garden because they got their own pots a couple weeks earlier. Fish pepper, gorgeous variegation. I think I have little baby peppers hanging around somewhere on these plants. Oh yeah, look at that. Little baby peppers. And so within a few weeks we will be harvesting peppers. Peppers take a lot longer to ripen than you would think. Here's a little cayenne. They take a lot longer to ripen than you would think. But once all of them start ripening, you will have continuous peppers basically until the plants die. Oh, my chamomile, I think, is starting to flower. Yeah. It doesn't look nearly as happy as it has, and I don't know why. Also, this basil on the end doesn't look as happy as the other basils, and again, I don't know why. I think it might be the only one of the Emily basils that's in a plastic pot, but you can see the cinnamon basil and let's see, the lemon basil and the purple basil are all in plastic pots, and they are looking fine. So that's probably not the problem. I don't know. Like I've said in the past, sometimes some plants just don't do well for no particular reason. And my Ajvarsky overwintered pepper plant has got to be the saddest looking pepper plant I have ever seen. But it is still trying to make a pepper. And I think it will. I don't know how good it'll be, but I think once it does that, it'll probably give up the ghost. Oh yeah, I couldn't see from the other side. Maybe y'all could on the camera and I look silly, but here are some of the baby fish peppers. If you look really close, you can see that they're kind of striped. So yeah, this will be really pretty. Oh guys, look at this neat web in here. You can see the spider on it. Ah, don't those look so neat? I used to be very afraid of spiders, but really they are guardians of the garden. They're going to be there to eat a lot of the other pests that are going to bother your plants. So don't bother your spiders. Let them do their job. Oh, and I just noticed I have shishito peppers too. I've never grown these before, so when do I pick them, and send your recipes, because I have heard that they are great to grow, but I've never done anything with them before. So shoot me those recipes in the comments and tips on when they are best picked. I've forgotten which kind of pepper this is, but you can see it is about to be loaded with baby peppers. They're all like these itty bitty, just finished budding peppers. There's about to be like 50 of them on there. I'm not sure if I showed you guys the porch plants last week, but, oh, cobweb. So the orange hat tomatoes got a little dried out because I really wanted these tomatoes to be sweet, and they are. They're pretty sweet. You heard me say last week that I don't really like fresh tomatoes, but these I can just eat. Right now they're not as sweet because it just rained, but they're still pretty good. I mean, I'm growing them because they're pretty, but I will also eat them. If they weren't so cute, I probably wouldn't grow them because I only like them okay, but they are super cute, and that adds to like kind of the happiness that I get from gardening, so I think it's worth it. And for some reason these continue to look sad after I transplanted them, and they are just making these huge tomatoes on these like teeny tiny little plants. But you know, again, plants just do their own thing. The herbs are looking pretty good. Thyme, spearmint, catnip, oregano is going to seed. And so I haven't really figured out what I'm doing in terms of the herb garden situation. Right now I know that having the herb garden separate is not going to hurt the herbs themselves. It just might prevent them from helping all my other plants a little bit extra. And so I'm kind of leaning in that direction, and then perhaps implementing some choice herbs interspersed in the garden to do kind of like a halfway there scenario, but we'll see. As I always say, nothing is final until I have done it. So I hadn't shown you guys yet, but I actually harvested all of the onions and garlic from the old place, and Draco always hogging the camera when he can, but yeah, I harvested the onions and the garlic. I'll put up a picture of them here for you to see what they looked like, because right now it looks kind of sad in my laundry room, but I'm just leaving them here to cure before I put them up for storage. I've laid out the garlic on the floor in my kitchen, which is, yeah, you know, not the prettiest thing in the world, but leaving them outside is not an option here given how wet it is, and I don't really have a good like outdoor covered structure for them. One of the last things we're going to look at is my single seed challenge. It is looking, I would say, about the same as last week. Y'all can tell me if that's not true. It's got these little peppers on it that are taking their time to ripen. Like I said, peppers take a lot longer to ripen than you might expect, but they will be there soon. I am expecting to see the first one start to change color, maybe this week or next. Also, please take note of my beautiful cutting board. It is handmade by my father. He has his own woodworking YouTube channel. You can follow, you can see how he made it, but I just had to show it to you guys because I'm so freaking impressed with how gorgeous it is. Okay, and last thing I want to show you is this Aji pepper plant is putting on the cutest tiny little peppers. I don't think they're supposed to get very big at all, and the plant itself is just cute and little. This has been like a perfect little kitchen pepper plant so far. Alright guys, that concludes our week 3 garden tour. Check back next Wednesday for week 4 already, which will be 1 month of the new garden, which is crazy. Don't forget, you can follow me on Instagram if you want to see more of the little updates as the week goes on. And yeah, until next time, I wish you all happy gardening.